She claimed she was protecting the neighborhood, but what she really did was destroy the joy of a child and nearly ruin her own life. In a quiet suburban community, where families gathered for barbecues and kids played freely, one woman decided that her own sense of power mattered more than anything else. When she cut down a child's treehouse, the unimaginable happened. Someone got hurt. What started as a petty HOA complaint spiraled into a shocking criminal charge that shook the entire neighborhood. Was it entitlement? Was it cruelty? Or was it something even darker? Let's unravel this unbelievable story. The neighborhood was the kind you'd see on glossy brochures: trimmed hedges, winding sidewalks, and a community that prided itself on order. Families paid their HOA fees, rules were enforced, and everything seemed perfect. But behind the manicured lawns, resentment simmered. Among the residents lived Karen, a middle-aged woman who had been part of the HOA board for years. She relished her authority, wielding it like a badge of honor. To her, rules weren't guidelines. They were weapons. She made it her mission to patrol the neighborhood, documenting violations and confronting anyone who didn't meet her standards. Just a few houses away lived the Harris family with their 9-year-old son, Ethan. Energetic and full of imagination, Ethan had begged his parents for a treehouse. After months of saving and a few weekends of hammering nails with his dad, Ethan finally had a small but sturdy wooden fort nestled in their backyard tree. For him, it was more than wood and nails. It was a kingdom, a safe place where childhood thrived. But to Karen, it was an eyesore. She complained to the HOA, claiming it violated neighborhood codes. The board dismissed her objections, noting the structure was on private property and posed no threat. But Karen didn't take rejection lightly. To her, the treehouse wasn't just a nuisance. It was a challenge to her authority. At first, Karen tried subtle intimidation. She would stand on the sidewalk, arms crossed, staring at the treehouse. She sent curt emails to the Harris family, warning that property values were at stake. The family ignored her, unwilling to let pettiness ruin their son's happiness. But as weeks passed, her frustration boiled. She began telling neighbors that the treehouse was unsafe, that Ethan could fall, that liability would affect the entire neighborhood. Her words carried weight. Some residents started whispering. Others avoided confrontation, but no one acted. One hot summer afternoon, while the Harris family was inside preparing lunch, Karen made her move. Armed with a saw, she marched to their backyard. With grim determination, she began hacking into the wooden supports. Her heart pounded, sweat streaked her face, but her obsession drove her forward. Then, the unthinkable happened. Ethan, who had been reading a comic book in his treehouse, felt the structure shudder. Before he could climb down, the wood gave way. He tumbled to the ground, landing with a sickening thud. The screams pierced the quiet neighborhood. His parents rushed out, horrified at the sight of their son writhing in pain and Karen standing nearby, saw in hand. Chaos erupted. Neighbors came running, phones dialing 911, voices shouting accusations. Ethan was rushed to the hospital with a broken arm and a concussion. Though he would recover, the emotional scars ran deep. His safe haven had been destroyed, in an act of malice disguised as enforcement. Meanwhile, deputies arrived at the scene. Witnesses spoke of Karen's actions, some providing video evidence from doorbell cameras. The image of her sawing through the supports while a child was inside spread quickly. What she thought was an assertion of power became undeniable proof of recklessness. The following days turned the neighborhood upside down. Karen, once feared for her domineering presence, now faced whispers of outrage and disgust. The Harris family, still reeling from Ethan's injuries, pressed charges. Deputies announced that Karen was being charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon. The saw had been classified as such. The news stunned residents. To think that an HOA board member, someone entrusted with keeping order, could cross A line so extreme left many questioning how entitlement could fester into violence. In court, the prosecution painted Karen as a woman blinded by arrogance and control. They described her repeated harassment, her defiance of HOA rulings, and her reckless disregard for a child's safety. The defense tried to argue she was acting in the best interest of the neighborhood, but the evidence was damning. The breaking point came when footage from a neighbor's camera was shown. Karen, in broad daylight, slicing into the supports while Ethan sat above. Gasps filled the courtroom. No one could deny the danger she created. Karen's expression, once smug and confident, shifted to panic. Her power, her influence, her reputation, all crumbled in the face of undeniable truth. Karen was convicted, sentenced to probation, community service, and ordered to pay restitution for Ethan's medical bills. She was also permanently banned from the HOA board. Her name became synonymous with entitlement gone too far. But the story left deeper questions behind. How does a community allow one person's obsession with control to escalate unchecked? Why did neighbors stay silent until it was too late? For Ethan, the treehouse was gone, but his resilience remained. His parents promised to rebuild, not just a structure, but the sense of safety that had been stolen. Neighbors rallied, offering support, and the once divided community began to see the cost of complacency. Karen's downfall served as a reminder that rules and order mean nothing when humanity is lost. Entitlement, when left unchecked, can destroy more than just wood and nails. It can harm lives, scar children, and fracture communities. And so, the story ends with a question that lingers. How many Karens walk among us, convinced that their power outweighs compassion? And when they cross the line, will we have the courage to stop them before the damage is done?